This meeting is being recorded.
Hi guys, it's MrsHandyRU. I'm here to reintroduce you to my friend Judith and Ryan. And I let them tell you their screen names and everything, and then we'll have a wonderful conversation. So Judith, why don't you give it a start?
I'm Judith, and I'm extremely amazed to finally talk to Ryan for the first time. We know each other so long. We've been what do you say? We've been connecting through Twitter and threads. We made a lot of dives together, and we got a great relationship in that way. We understand each other, both weird in a good way. And well, I'm still amazed we finally can talk. It's so different than typing.
I'm so honored to be able to introduce you guys face to face. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was when I first started, when Q first started, I was stalking around Twitter, looking for things, and everybody was talking about the same thing. They were all in the same narrative, and I ended up running into Robert, and Robert and Judith were a couple at the time on Twitter discussing certain things, and they would get into the most scientific discussions. And for I'm a high school dropout, like I told you. Like, I had my son when I was 18, so I never studied into real in-depth things. I just lived a very simple life. But a lot of what they said made some certain reactors pop upstairs, and I would stalk in on their conversations, and I wouldn't say anything. I would give a thumbs up, or just little thumbs up or hearts, or little emojis, and I kind of hit them with a post, and the post was about transhumanism and quantum computing and the downloading of a human consciousness into the machine. And this post, Judith grabbed a hold of this post, and Robert and I literally ran this post for 72 hours to 4 days straight, over and over. I don't think we slept, honestly, maybe an hour or two, but it was every time we woke up, there was something new to add. And that post got a lot of attention. It got a lot of attention, but it wasn't talked about at all. It wasn't talked about at all. Then all three of us, the triple cripple,
Oh, I wish I was with the triple cripple. Go ahead.
Well, that's just what we called each other, because we were talking about things, and then all of a sudden you would see Serial Brain start posting about these things.
Really? No, I didn't
So
know
we were sitting around thinking to ourselves, like, that's pretty unique, Robert comes in with this idea. Me and Judith take off running with it, and we started calling Robert One Punch Man from the Japanese animation, because it's like he looks just like him. He's bald, he looks just like him, and he's really, really smart and down to earth, and the kindest, open-minded man that I've met in a long time.
We connected a lot.
He's like you guys said, he is most definitely a magnet, and I think that's why he doesn't have hair. He needs to emit that magnetism. So yeah, he brought us together, and me and Judith, we have dove down so many different conspiracies, cultures, histories, everything else for years, and never had a face-to-face. This is the first time that we're doing that, and we really got to know each other, mind and heart, through words, simple words. And
that's beautiful.
That's when you can feel somebody through what they type, that means a lot, you know. And I believe me, I'm stubborn. I will put the craziest music up there to send a message, and it's like some people are like, oh well, that's, you know, that's demonic and that's not of the Lord. It's that, and they have no idea what I'm saying. I mean, you can ask her. I have been ridiculed by people.
Yeah.
They have just flipped script and got real nasty with me for no reason whatsoever, just because they didn't want to hear, they didn't want to talk. And she has, it's like we dove into the deepest, darkest depths. And when we came back up from that with this information, we kind of stood there at the curb looking like, what the hell happened to everybody? Because in a matter of 2 years of our studies, like, people have shifted drastically. And it's like, it's nice to see everybody starting to come back together, but at the same time they're coming back together, everybody has their own little, if they have an agenda, there's a problem.
Oh,
There
yeah.
should be no agenda other than uncovering the truth. And I see people trying to make money off this. I see people trying to get fame off this. I see a lot of things. It's like what I just posted on your chit chat on your Telegram. People need to start learning how to love and stop loving being loved.
Oh, I know. Oh, what a good thing
It's
to say.
it's a sickness. You can sit there
Yeah.
and say you love somebody, you know, as much as you want to. If you have a behind the scenes agenda, that's not, it's not straightforward.
Mm.
So anyway, I'm here in Pennsylvania, Dutch country. Got my Dutch over here. And Cathy, your Zoom conference, I want to let you take the wheel, throw some things out there, and
Oh,
we're just gonna let it fly.
You guys,
Nope.
man, you guys are
No,
awesome
you're
together.
gonna
Come
be
on.
the top. I'm looking at the way it is. You got you in the middle of us two. I don't know if it's that way on the screens, but you're
Oh,
playing
okay, that's
referee
okay.
today. So we're gonna go raw conversation, unscripted.
Yeah.
Talk about what you want to talk about. We'll add our 2 cents.
I have almost no notes or ideas because
I have nothing in front of me.
I knew you guys would be like the most awesome people to even just talk to each other. Like, I just knew it, you know, because you guys are just like, you guys, well, we were talking about family earlier, and you guys are like very close in the family, in my opinion. Like you're like siblings, right? The way I look at you guys. Because
Yeah.
Brother and
I
sister.
bet you guys
Yeah,
feel
without a
close.
doubt.
Like, I bet you
Yeah.
guys feel like brother or sister, don't you?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
'Cause,
This relationship, and Judith, don't feel bad about this, but this relationship has and this learning, okay, and I want to point something out in 2 separate states of mind, has shattered my marriage.
oh, we
Shattered
don't
it.
want that, but
No, this is jealousy, okay? Because even if I was to go to college to get a degree and everything, the jealousy was so thick in my house that I wouldn't have even have been able to have time to get the degree. You're taking time from me. And I'm trying to tell her, because we have a kid together that I love dearly. Once all this happened with the child, you know, you hear about the child sacrifice and stuff. My daughter can't speak for herself, and she became autistic from vaccines in 2013. And once I started realizing what was being done to kids, the first thing that went through my mind is, what kind of world am I going to leave my daughter in? You're like, something has to be done. And that's when I told you last summer, that's when I was sitting there, I was drinking, I was playing PlayStation one night, and I heard it clear as day in my head. And this is before I even met Judith, you know, Ryan, what was origin? I'm sat there, I'm sitting right next to my wife at the time, and I'm going, what? I paused the game and I just kind of looked at her, and I'm thinking, maybe I drank too much. And it again, Ryan, what was origin? What was the beginning?
God's talking to you, man.
So Genesis opened up, you know, Bereshith, if you're Jewish. And I opened that up and I started reading through that and really diving into the beginning. And I ran across L.A. Marzulli, the Nephilim. Oh my God, so many different dives from from things they found, and archaeological, and then I was mixing archaeological with biblical and writing notes and everything else. And at first that was no big deal to her, but it's like the moment I had somebody else outside of America from an outside perspective, what I really needed, and Judith, you're a blessing, was
Oh,
somebody who's not an American perspective giving me her perspective on things.
yeah.
Okay, because we're born into an American system. She's born in her Dutch system, and you know, you can have somebody from Germany, you can have somebody from Russia, and it's all of that is important. All of that is important for the big picture.
Yes,
And
I agree.
you spend so much time. I was like, yeah, well, you know, she lives across the Atlantic. She's married, and you are, for some reason, you're jealous. Well, this is where you start learning about projection. You know, you can watch any talk show, and the accusers are usually the one doing something.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
how we split up
I'm sorry.
was more of a Randolph, Maine. I have no friends in Randolph, Maine.
Yeah, I probably do.
That's a big no.
I'm on the border.
Yeah, how we split up, I was getting accused of a lot of different things that unless I know how to teleport, okay, never happened. I mean, you were doing this last night. No, I took the dog. Well, who's that woman on the camera? First off, why is there a camera in the house? Like, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like being surveilled? You really?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
oh.
And it was 4 a.m. I was taking the dog out, and it was me laughing because I was looking at the dog, asking him if he had to take a shit. And the dog's running around acting like a fool at 4 a.m. And I wanted to do this before I went to bed, take him outside so he can
Right.
relieve himself. And I had my daughter out, and she's just, you're with another woman. And I had to go through this for 3 months after we split up, you know, last year. And, you know, then I had Child Protection Services call and say I
Oh,
was,
Lord.
well, she said there was a woman in the house, and then she told somebody I was having sex in front of my daughter with this woman.
Oh,
So
they
when
make up all
CPS
kinds of
called,
things.
so when
Yeah,
CPS called, I told the lady, I have no idea what you're talking about, but you know, she had a fling with this particular woman last year when we split up. So it's projection. It's projection.
Oh,
And it's
what
the
she's
same,
doing, she's blaming you for, yeah,
right? But when taking this outside of myself,
right.
you're seeing this everywhere. This
Mm.
is happening
Yeah.
everywhere. And that's what I mean about not feeling bad about, this whole journey shattering my marriage, because this same projection is happening to millions of other families everywhere.
Okay.
So when you see these things happening, and when you see these rifts happening, someone's doing something. Your whole life was quiet up to this point.
Yeah, mine was lovely until until I started doing a channel. Then it hit the fan. It
So
hit
let's
the fan.
discuss artificiality and
Okay, tell me.
a possibility of scripting lives.
Tell me. I don't know.
It's an idea that has stuck with me for 5 years, and I'm trying to figure it out. You have people like Russell J. Gould, okay? And you have people like David, what's his name? His partner.
Yeah, I
You
just
just
sent you a
posted.
video about him. Yeah,
Win Miller.
Win Miller.
Yes, Win Miller. They
Yeah,
had
but-
they had mentioned a 53,000-year-old craft at the poles of the planet that emits electromagnetism. Okay.
I didn't know.
Now, just like Wi-Fi, just like radio waves, just like Morse code and everything, you can send messages over frequencies and things like that. So now you have to ask yourself, what is in Antarctica? What does Obama and John Kerry and them do in Antarctica? What's down there? You know?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know yet. Yeah, but it's weird. I don't think it's a coincidence, but anyway, my brother-in-law, Bob, Mr. Handy's brother, was working in Antarctica when everything hit the fan with the election. And anyway, Kerry was there. And he gave a little speech and everything. Isn't that weird that Mr. Handy's brother was there? And that's when Kerry,
See,
like you're saying, went.
Yeah, and when you look at CERN, where George Soros is one of the main funders up in CERN,
Yeah.
their system they run up there is IBM System Q, IBM
Yeah.
System 1 Q.
And he worked for
And-
IBM.
And then you get to the ice cube, the neutrino observer, connected
right.
to CERN, and that it's a project. It's in Antarctica, but where in Antarctica? When you go think about the flat Earth model.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk about the. They say it's in the center of Antarctica. And what I think is the most important point to focus on when we speak about Antarctica is the part near the Scotia Sea. Is where you make the crossing from the south of Argentina. They all have to go through South Argentina to get to Antarctica. So my main focus concerning Antarctica is the point where also are the most churches. You've got a concentration of churches on Antarctica. It's on the, how do you call it, slurf of the elephant. that part.
Well, yeah.
The nose. How you call it in English? And
I don't
trunk.
know.
It's almost, it's like a land bridge.
Yeah.
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 It's shaped
But it's interesting that you got CERN, you got the ice cube, the neutrinos, and the part that
you said, I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what the last part you said. You've got the ice cube and the what?
the ice cube is
Neutrinos.
the neutrino observer. I forgot what I said. But also important is you got the project Blue Ice. Can you remember that, Ryan?
That was
Sky Ice.
I believe that was Ice 7.
No, yeah, well, it's got to do with it because because that's transparent, but you also got the sky ice, and that's blue. I recently saw another video on that team, and that's the ice that melts without leaving water, because it's got a high concentration of oxygen. I have to tell you, by the way, I'm not educated technically at all.
Yeah.
So all the diving, the conversations I had with Robert were extremely funny because he posted these links and I was like reading them all.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to look up a lot because it was all new for me.
Oh,
Yeah,
so did
same
I.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have math, but I wasn't good at it. So I dropped it after 2 years. I didn't do any exams in it. And the funny part is, I liked it, but I wasn't good enough to get a good, I might not pass my exams if I went on with it. But when I went to art school, I started working with computers. And then we're speaking of 86, 85. So I worked on an IBM, an Apple II, and I had to learn how to program. It was all new for me, but that's how I could see what sinus and cosinus were doing, because I wanted to animate, made an animation of an, I choose a triangular, why not, of course. It's so funny when you think back. And I wanted to rotate it. So I had to learn how to program. So I learned BASIC, and we had a guy coming to our school once a week to learn us computer programming. But it was all new. And it was an art school. This was so weird And the fun thing is now I get to think about it, is when I was in the second year of the computer class, I went with another guy from my class. We were invited by, I have to think how it's called. It's the NASA of the Netherlands. There are in ESA. That's how it's called. It's ESA. I have to think. It's funny because the A, Nederland, the Dutch first letter of the alphabet, we say A, and when I talk about it, I confuse it and I say A, but ESA. But you say what? Never mind. And we were invited to talk with these people. I saw a live satellite there, and but the fun thing is because we were programming and simulating things on a computer. We were building in the 3 dimensions on the computer, and what I found weird and funny was, why are they so interested in us? And they were asking us a lot of questions, students. But now later I connected it, wait a minute, they into the simulation business more than in, well, it's not like that. Those rockets really went up there. And when you take a look at NASA, they always work with simulations. I use a lot from space weather when I post things about the sun, when there is a flare, or you only get to see their simulations.
Which just happened, right? You must pay attention to that, right? They just had a big one, supposedly.
Yeah, but I always look at these things because there's a message in it. And the sun is talking to us. That's how it's so
and
great.
just like you only get to see their simulations, the news is the same. You only receive their information.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So they're taking over visuals, they're taking over words, and you're subject to them.
Yeah.
And that's all you get. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah. And then I get back to the start of this conversation. It's the artificial part.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Elon Musk. And it's the same with time, not time travel, but these things aren't, when I think of time travel or space travel, it's not something you do with your physical body. It's when it's exactly. And I remember back on Twitter, a guy posted and answered me about, I think it was also with traveling through, I think it was a time travel thing. And I was like, well, I travel time, but I use my my lucid body. You can't travel with a physical 3D stuff, like, I'm not sure if I'm getting through.
What you're saying is, when you sleep, when people define astral projection, when you sleep, you bilocate.
Yeah.
You're in your physical body is in your bed, but where is your conscious, your energetic self?
Yeah. 2 nights ago, I was in China.
Yeah. We're much bigger than our body.
For instance, when we were just talking about the perspective of the cube, I'm not sure if we did that when we started recording yet.
No.
Okay, so let's quick discuss that quick. Juan Savin's books, Kid by the Side of the Road. The bottom of his page, he has a cube at the bottom of his page. Each page has a cube in orange block. Okay, there's a Y in the center of it. and that Y makes it a cube, but the outlining factor of that cube is a hexagram. Okay, if you take that hexagram and you turn it to a 45, the outline of that cube is now a rhombus. If you were to take that and look at it and rotate it, just like Judith was talking about in her class.
You might have to
You
repeat that, honey. You might have to repeat that one more time because it was kind of roboting.
Yeah.
Okay. So that section where Judith was talking about her class, and she was talking about, you know, making polygons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you take that same exact hexagram or that rhombus, like I talked about, and you rotate it to look at the top, now it's a diamond or a square, depending on how it's rotated, depending on your point of view.
Yeah.
Okay. So same big picture, lots of different point of views.
Mhm.
Okay. All of this is relevant with religion. All of this is relevant with how you view life, and they divide to conquer. You know, all of these things go hand in hand. So Juan Savin just had a conversation with his Easter about the same thing. We're going to have an American conversation. America is a melting pot country of various ethnicities, various religions, various cultures, and we're going to have a conversation. We're going to sit down and we're going to break bread at this table, and we're going to break down and hash out and develop the whole big picture, which I find interesting for the rig to red comment, because it's a red room that you develop photos, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
It's a
Dark room
red,
in
it's a
black
red
and
light
white. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you do black and white pictures, you develop them, you can use a red light.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
when you do color, I never did that, but I did black and white pictures developing and only the film itself, it has to be completely dark. So that was funny because that was the first time I went in a completely dark room with a pair of scissors because you have to cut something and you have to. The first time I went in and I went out after 3 seconds, like, okay, it's like this. It's really dark. You can't see. You can't see me. That's another part of the show. So, but I got used to it right away. But indeed, red light.
It equals,
Take
you
it
know
away,
what?
bro.
I just did the gematria on that, Ryan. Conversation, you know, because Juan says that all the time.
Mhm.
And it equals ventilators, which President Trump says all the time, which is interesting, isn't it? Because he says that all the time.
Yeah.
And it equals, let's see, I'm sorry, I've lost it because I had it a second ago.
Oh, I got, in the meantime, I
It
can
equals
show
immortality. It equals immortality. Sorry, go ahead. Hannah.
Interesting. That's
Go ahead.
that's old. That's an old gematria. Reminds me
Yeah.
of. Oh wow! I did one. Oh, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember you had that great movie with it as well that Trump posted several times. That it was gonna be. I connected to, so he was him being the last president, but immortality. And another, oh, I'm gonna look that up as well. But I had this
I'm sorry
picture.
about the voice. I can't get rid of it.
Because I was looking at those cubes a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Ryan, and I made a post about it as well because there was the 6 and the 8. I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes,
That's,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you guys are so neat and tidy. I love it.
nah, not really.
Bless you.
It's a mess, and I was working for weeks now on this thing connected to Ripple, the Ripple Lab. They work with Seed and Angel, by the way. Yeah? If you look it up simple on Wikipedia, yeah, it's weird. And I connected it to the Back to the Future 3, the last part, end of the line, San Francisco.
Okay.
And you see the scene where they have to go back and they use the train track. and the train.
And the
But
train has a
the
number on it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but the bridge isn't finished yet.
Doesn't it go off?
But no, because Doc Brown says it will be when you go back into the future. And the Golden Gate Bridge, what color do you think it is? Most people think.
Well, it's like rust.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people might think it's red, but it's actually it's international orange.
I was going to say orange.
Yeah, it's good.
Because
yeah.
I think it's going to look, well, you know how I am, guys, right? You guys, you two guys, you know, I always think that it's going to look like the Golden Gate goes down, everything, right? And it won't really happen, you know.
No,
Look like,
the bridge
it'll
will.
look like a projection on a green screen, whatever. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't think the bridge will, nothing will happen to the bridge literally.
Not really.
It's all pointing to so many other things. Because when you get to San Francisco, it's also the headquarters of Ripple Labs. And San Francisco is, of course, the Francis of Assisi. It's named after, and Francis of Assisi. Assisi is a 107 match.
Is it 107? Oh my God.
And it's and the Seraphim and the Cherubim. They look pretty scary, by the way, when you really, I mean, Ezekiel, he was pretty standing firm when he was eye to eye with the
with the swords. With the swords, right?
The wheel, wow, with all the eyes, and think about it, angels.
Think about it.
Yeah, and Archangel Gabriel. It's weird because, well, Ryan knows that I've been connected to that since I know. It came to me 3 years ago. It came onto my path. Now this reminds me of the vaporwave we talked about recently again, and then you go back to how do you say, restart of not really, how do you say, I'll think about it.
Think about
the reset. The reset, because it also reminds me of the Man in Black MEB. You just mix the number. It's the guy with the memory eraser. It's sort of like that. You reset, but you start over and you know nothing. It's or Monopoly. You start over, no $200. But in this case, you don't remember. Yeah.
Is that correct? I don't remember the end rules.
Yeah.
That's the idea. That's the idea, to rule it all and get your other players bankrupt. Absolutely.
Yeah, precies.
But I find you brought up MIB. We talked about that too. MIB, IBM, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Handy worked there.
Yeah.
Maybe he's one of them, Men in Black. We don't know it.
He's a handyman.
He's very stealth, right? He's stealth.
Yeah.
IBM. Yeah, and D-Wave comes to mind too, because that popped a few years ago as well. Speaking of quantum computing, I forgot the number, how it connects, but yeah.
You got
numbers
D-Wave.
are important. Like we said before, I think the story is more important than the number.
Yeah.
Well, if you pay close attention to all the words, you pay close attention to everybody's name, and you look at everything. D-Wave, wave, watch the water. His last name is Rose. Compass Rose. You use a compass when you're sailing.
Oh,
on the waters.
You guys, I've had so many.
You have a cat that won't leave you alone, named Rosie.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many comments that
These
I've gotten.
words all
Ryan,
over the place. It's like, go ahead.
I have to say it or I'll forget it because that's the way I am. But
Yep, nope, go
sorry.
ahead.
But there's so many things that I've gotten over I think it's been months, but a lot more recently, that something huge is going to happen on the water, and that it's not necessarily just a tidal wave. It's not just that. That I think that what I've been getting is that likely it's Jackie and Jacqueline, or Diana, I don't know. It's a woman and a man. And they're going to have to face the beast, just like Revelation 11. And it's going to look bad. And then they come back. And I've gotten that over and over and over again. It's not like a one-off. It's an over and over and over again. Now, I don't know, is that going to look like a movie? That I haven't figured out. Like for a while there, I thought, oh, this is definitely happening. I've said it in the videos because all I do is theorize. I mean, I don't wait to figure it all out. I'm kind of working it out as I go, which is weird, but that's what I do. And then not long ago, I started getting, could it possibly not be real, but that it's supposed to almost like make people happy that the Revelation 11 actually is happening. Do you know what I mean? Like it could look like it's Revelation 11 is when they meet the beast, they die, the two witnesses die, but then they come back again. Like they go up in a lightning streak and they come back. But that it could be like honestly like a movie. And that's as far as I've gotten. That's something more recent. Like before I thought, oh, this is it. They actually die, they go up, they come back. And that's the way I thought it was. But now in the last only 2 or 3 weeks, I've been thinking, well, maybe that's not exactly how it is. It could look like that happens, but it's not really happening, just like a movie, because I've had the movie pop up a lot when I'm doing decoding. The movie, the show.
Here's really what's been stewing me up the most and getting me really wound up this past week the most is we talked about this in our last conversation a year ago as well. And there are pieces in the Bible and everybody worldwide holds this book so close to their heart and their soul. They fear God, they want to know God, they love God. Okay.
They're sincere.
There is something I'm taking notice to regarding the Bible being played against the people. They are taking the narrative of the Bible and running it straight through your heart. And when you look at the founding of the house of Joseph, which Jesus came from, it was founded from the book of Judges by a man named Barak and a judge named Deborah. Okay. Now, prior to the White House of Joseph Biden, you had Barack Obama, and I think she's a congressional judge or Senate or something, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Oh yeah, from Florida. Yeah.
My question is, because now we have these angels and gods pouring their bowls of wrath out on the people, injecting farms with vaccines so it's in your food. It creates famine, okay? Or I'm sorry, it creates pestilence. And that same pestilence will create famine because no one's going to want to eat that bullshit, okay? So they are playing the biblical parts of people that we hold dear to our heart. Okay, they are playing Revelation against us. Now, if Barack and Debbie founded the White House of Joseph Biden, the White House, to sit in the seat as president of the White House is to sit in the white throne. So when you talk about the white throne judgment, it's going to come from the White House.
That makes sense.
Who, and excuse my language, but who the fuck is their Messiah to step forward? Because I don't want to sit and break bread with that guy.
No.
Exactly.
I'd rather, you know, excuse me if this is bad, but I'd rather lop his head off and be done with it.
Well, I
That's,
seriously don't,
I don't
Ryan,
agree with
I don't
anything they
think
do.
that, I don't think that Joe Biden is Joe Biden, but I don't know if you've heard all that from me, but he's definitely a fake. I've even seen photos and videos when he was speaking with his nose all sideways, and they did it on purpose so that so the plasticky nose was over here and it didn't have another nostril. I mean, I can't even do it because it's impossible. I can't do it. It's so far over, you know.
Now,
But
I did see, I did see he got,
I am sure that John is playing his part, at least at some point, and maybe more. Other people, like, I'm hoping, you guys are way too serious for this, but I really think that Cary Grant is playing him at least at some little point. Cary Grant, my Cary Grant that I love and idolize. Okay, go ahead. You can take that apart.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to have fun with it, you know what I mean? But when I see something that people hold so dear being played against them, I get really, I get stewed up because there's something very wrong with that. Something very wrong. And it's just something I see. And then there's moments where I see a bird take a shit on his shoulder. And that makes me calm in my spirit, you know. That warms my heart.
Let's be honest, it warms your cockles, okay?
It's just these are very interesting times, and
Yeah.
I really should get outside in nature more and stuff like that. But this whole, you gotta watch. You gotta watch. It's moving fast now. Speeding up.
So fast.
Yeah.
It is speeding up for sure.
Yeah.
And we got
so
much going on.
I know we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
I try not to get too upset about everything. Maybe that's why I see this side of everything, because I know we're going to be fine. And I look at the funny part of it, because I was getting way too depressed the first couple of years.
Yeah.
It was
and it's easy to fall into that too.
And
with
I
all
don't
this.
want to go there.
Yeah.
So I choose to look at the funny part.
You're so right about that. It's the best approach to have to. But then you have Ryan and me. Well, it's somehow in our system still. We always have to look at how would the evil part play it out? What have they still got left on their table?
I completely understand that, because that's where most people are, honestly.
Yeah.
Most people don't think like I think. Most people are looking at Biden as, who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, the good guys, that's how I always say it, like the good guys and the bad guys. To me, the good guys wouldn't let, you can't even say it on the channel, but somebody like him that does what he does, the bad stuff, wouldn't let him be free, because he would do so much damage. Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, and so to me, it's easy to think that it's not him, because they would have put, if you don't think it's Junior, then at least a body double.
Yeah.
Because he would be too, he would hurt too many kids. KIDS.
It's definitely
another words I can't say.
Yeah.
There's, I get myself wound up in everything, and the fact of the matter is a lot of this stuff is so sensitive that it has to be bled out slowly.
Yeah.
Slowly, so little bits at a time. You take the whole red pill and you could go bonkers.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
I just wonder, I wonder what's
Speaking
going
of,
to happen to people, Ryan. What do you think
well,
when this all comes
well,
together?
I have faith. There, see, I heard Nino talk on his show how he did DMT, and he had an experience on DMT, and this is something that Judith and I spoke about years ago. I was in the studies of the pineal gland and the third eye, and I
Sorry about my
started
phone.
yeah, this is back before we even started getting into this. And it's not like you can just go out in the street and go just score some DMT. It's not that easy. Okay. So I had a friend, and his last name is pretty interesting because it's exactly what is on the Nassau symbol, the Vaughn. Okay. And he ended up getting pure DMT, and he calls me up and he tells me that I got this and this, that, and the other. So I'm looking at words and matrix and narrative all around me in my personal life. And this is where I start feeling things are scripted, except for this one point. So the first time I did it, it was 35 milligrams. Okay. And I remember a white room. There was nothing in this room. The floors were white. It felt like a room, but it was vast. It was spacious. And in the distance, you could see like a mountain in the distance. And over that mountain, I was like, well, that's the only thing in the room. Let's start heading in that general direction on
Right,
my experience.
right. I'm very naive. I live in New Hampshire. Explain
Sure.
DMT. Explain DMT.
Well, DMT is dimethyltryptamine.
Okay.
Okay. It's
Okay.
one molecule off from what is the stuff that's in turkey? Tryptophan.
Oh,
Tryptophan. When you eat turkey and you go to sleep. Okay.
oh, I thought you were talking about the
Tryptophan.
country. What's
No,
in-
no, no.
Okay.
Tryptophan is a chemical that's in all life. Okay. And
Yeah.
DMT is DMT is one molecule away from being tryptophan. So it's right there. They say that when you pass away, your brain floods with DMT, and it's kind of what projects you out. That's the theory of it. Okay. This is an extract from the root bark of a plant. It's a very indigenous medicine. Some people heard of ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Okay. Ayahuasca is more of a liquid base that you have to have a certain chemical plant in there because of your inhibitors and your enzymes in your stomach. It won't let you absorb it. And then DMT, you can vaporize and inhale it. So I go on this hallucinogenic experience. Okay. And this is when I'm studying into this. And I have this experience where I'm in a white room or a white space, and there's a mountain in the back. And I'm staring at this mountain. And I start walking at this mountain, and over the backside of this mountain comes this storm. Okay. Storm. Up and over the mountain like a waterfall, right down the mountain, all along the floor. And it stands up right in my face, and it's looking me right in the face. There's a face. I can't tell what the face is. And I just kind of backed up from it. I'm sitting there thinking in my head, like, you are way too close for comfort right now. Like, why would you need to get that close? And then all of a sudden I started getting this feeling of reunion. Okay. And in my experience, I hit my knees and put my forehead to the floor. And all I could see was a foot, sandals, and the bottom of a white robe.
Wow.
And even in my chair, like if you watch The Matrix and you see Neo in his chair and he's plugged in, he's bilocated. Okay. So in my chair, my friend is watching over my physical body, making sure my breathing's up to par, smack me if he needs to wake me up. If anything, it's good to have somebody looking over you to snap you out of it. And I was wailing like a child.
Oh.
I was wailing like a child. And I remember him asking me, I'm getting a lump thinking about it.
Yeah.
I remember him just telling me to breathe. And when I took a breath, it was the most filling thing I've ever experienced in my life. Like there was no need to eat. There was no need to anything. This like was a breath of life.
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay. And it
Wow.
was there was nothing, no drug, no anything corporeal in this life could compare to how fulfilling this was.
Oh my gosh,
When
Ryan.
I was done crying, he stands me up and he asks me if I can fly. Can you still fly? I've never flew before. Come on, unless I'm in a silver bullet flying through the sky. But I looked at him and I said, I think so. And he kind of shot into my body, light blasted out of my fingertips, my eyes, and everything. And I was levitated, like irradiated almost. And I remember just like clenching a fist, and thought became flight. And when I was flying, it was Mach 1, Mach 2, the greatest feeling in the world. And I turned around and he was gone. And I'm sitting there saying, where did you go? How am I supposed to follow you if you're moving that fast? And he kind of gave me a little sound signal, I'm this way. Whew. Took off flying towards him and everything. And he kind of put his hand out and stopped me at my chest because I almost went overboard into a void.
Oh my
So I'm
goodness.
standing at the ridge of this void and I'm looking down in it. And one thing he always made sure was to tell me I was at his right side, always, the whole time.
Ooh,
Even
right hand
prostrate.
of God. It's interesting.
Kind of feels that way. I was at his right side the entire experience. And I remember standing there and just looking down in that void and clenching my fist ready for battle. And
Wow.
I'm thinking in my head, if I'm going down there with you and we're going to do this, can't lose.
Yeah.
Can't lose. So ready when you are.
Wow.
You know? And he kind of looked over and smirked. Okay. At that point, I was put back into physical body. I woke up. My friend said, "Are you okay?" I was soaked from my shoulders all the way down, literally like a baptism in my own tears.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
he even said, he goes, I have never saw tears flow out of a human being like that. Like it was like faucets just pouring out. He goes, you were in your chair wailing. And I said to him, I looked right at him. I said, everybody on the street needs to do this shit. And then I'm sitting, and then I came to, I was like, no, everybody on the street doesn't need to do this. That's a bad idea because might not be for everybody.
I want to do
Right?
it.
It's you have to let go.
I can do
You
that.
have to.
I can let go, no problem. No
You'd be
problem.
surprised. Easier said than done.
Oh,
Yeah.
Easier said.
oh yeah.
I had a friend.
Heavy trip.
Okay, Judith, you and I online. And Ryan will be the enabler. What do you think?
Yeah.
But real quick, the amount of love that I
Yeah.
felt during that
Oh.
experience,
Oh,
that's a God I worship.
oh,
That right there is
love.
a God I
Yeah,
worship.
that's it. That's it, love. Oh my God.
And the point is, the DMT it's made naturally in our body.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got natural DMT. It has to do. It's got to do with the pineal
I don't know anything about
gland.
that.
And I grew up. I did drugs as well, mainly marijuana. I've been smoking for years and years. I'm glad I'm now smoking no longer because I smoked for 3 lifetimes, I guess. It made me well relaxed and. But that's not the point. I grew up in the punk era. In the 70s and 70s, when I was 13, I went to concerts, punk and squat houses, and I saw a lot of people because the heroin thing came up as well. I saw a lot of people dying at a young age, not literally, but friends of mine wouldn't be there the next day.
Holy
and so I was always like, okay, that's no way to go. And so I kept with my marijuana, but I had a trip once but that's the LSD, and it's funny because speaking of DMT and LSD is Moses and the burning bush. Then you might want to think, okay, maybe he was on DMT as well, but the natural kind. And Alexander the Great and LSD. You might not think of that connection right away, but they have been doing experiments as well, huh? The government I'm not sure which departments that was, but they did experiments on people. You remember that, Ryan? In the
Yeah, it was the
military, they
yeah,
really
and that
fucked.
was involved. That was
Yeah,
involved also with the sleep experiments,
yeah,
sleep deprivation.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
But
They were doing a lot
I
of
always
psychological things.
yeah. But the thing is with the hallucinogens, like LSD or trips, is it's heavy because you really get to see another the world as like a drawing is a 2D projection of something that can be 3D or 5D. When I think of the cubes you mentioned,
A higher understanding of the framework.
yeah, and so you get into that situation only with, yeah, you're in it and you get to see so much. I remember when I did it, I cried just like you. All I could do was cry the first time. So I was okay. Not for me, for the time being. I was also very sensitive because I helped other people who did make a trip, and I was making tea and making sure they were all right. But that was all long time ago, and I think we have it all naturally in our system, and then that's when you get to the being lucid part. I've been lucid a lot. I had a lot of dreams since I was young. I still have them. They stopped when I smoked marijuana a lot. I forgot. I couldn't remember my dreams, so I'm so glad I got my dreams back. And I remember I told you a few months ago, they were coming in very heavy, the lucid dreams again.
Yeah.
I remember one moment I was almost getting pulled out of I was going back into my body, and I felt two arms that were going to pull me out again, and I was oh no way. So it's quite something. I'm glad I got protection. My grandmother is always with me. She got my back as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Ryan, I guess we got each other's back also on that level. We're connected in a special way, and that's how I feel. And I remember, speaking of lucid dreams, when we first met Robert, I had, and then I come to the project Blue Beam. I'm always making fun of it. I had a dream, a lucid one, where I saw spaceships. When I got on my balcony, and they were huge, and they were literally hanging there. And I was like, no, this is not. This is telling me something else. And now I'm more like this whole project Bluebeam is playing with our third eye. So people I saw it popping a few days ago. It was right after the Watch the Water documentary. People were starting telling about, oh, it's time for the spaceships and the Project Bluebeam of NASA. But I personally think Bluebeam is is also more about programming the minds of the people, working through the third eye. It's not a literal projection, and it's also about accounts on the media platforms that aren't who they want us to believe they.
I mean, like they'd enable
Yeah.
the thought? You mean like
Yeah.
they'd enable the thoughts?
Yeah, for example, or they make you see things the way you think it is, but it's really different. Or you get these accounts who come with, especially you got on these big accounts, and they come with, well, we're gonna come with information in 7 days. You have to follow us and this and that.
Yeah, those. Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's all little parts of, and I have a feeling that they are, yeah. How do you say it?
Almost like it's like mass hallucination.
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
yeah, and people will see what they want to see, and they perceive news or whatever in their way, and that's more what I think blue beam is. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and not a literal projection in the sky, but what the original idea is of Project Blue Beam. I think they're playing with our third eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like that, but I mean,
No.
I like your theory. Yeah.
Yeah. I found about the immortality gem, by the way, in the meantime.
Yeah.
It's a Watch the Water. It's a match. Watch the Water has the match immortality, phosphorus, my full name. That's why I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So phosphorus number 15.
Wow.
Well, we know who can be phosphorus. Jupiter and both Jupiter and Venus can be phosphorus, as we speak of planets. Morning star or evening star. Morning star, then your phosphorus, and Hesperus, then is when they are in the evening sky.
Wow.
But that's only one part of phosphorus. It's also natural in food, and it's good for us. But then you get to the
demonetization.
Yes, thank you.
I thought you were going to say demonic, but no.
It's so sick, because a lot of things are good and good for us.
Yeah.
But they snatched it, and it's like the swastika I mentioned before. The Nazis have it tilted. Same for the Luciferus, the Lucis Trust, and Madame Blavatsky. They also got the Ouroboros snake eating its own tail with the swastika, but tilted exactly like the Nazis had it tilted.
Yeah.
And above that, it's the Om sign. Om, that looks like a 30, a golden 30. And Om, when you pick it apart, it's also Allah. So it's made, yeah, it's funny how all these things are connected.
Wow.
To Ramadan, by the way. Amazing, because we have Pesach, Easter. Okay, Easter was yesterday.
Passover, right.
But Pesach, Passover still, and Ramadan. And Ramadan is always, it shifts. Like 2 years ago, it was in July, August, freaking hot. And in the Netherlands, you have long days. So finally, when the sun goes down, they can eat. But we have got a lot of Muslims here. And And you have to, when you go with the bus, I always like, okay, the driver, he hasn't eaten, drinking, they don't drink water as well.
Is he gonna pass out and go off the
Yeah,
road?
and I'm like, oh, please. That's a joke.
I know, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what I noticed. That's the first time in years that it all comes together.
Mm.
And that's April 2022 is a very
3 months off.
special month. And then the alignment of the planets and the stupid comet and the asteroid. But the alignment goes on till June. Mercury isn't in the alignment yet of all the planets,
Okay.
but he will be in June. So this is it isn't over yet.
We're gonna wait for the
think-
fat lady to sing, huh?
Exactly.
Okay.
I think we're
I'll be
gonna
the
see
fat
some
lady. I'll be the fat lady.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And the elephant and the fat lady both dancing in the room, singing their own tune.
I wanted
Oh,
to.
wow.
I wanted to continue, so I'll do whatever it takes. I will
And
do whatever it takes.
Another thing that popped when you talked about it, the part about JFK and Jacqueline or Diane.
Yeah,
It's-
right.
It's the male and the female, the red and the blue, the black and the white, the
Yes.
left,
yin
right,
and
whatever,
Yeah.
and the water. And the interesting thing is, I've been looking into, I told Ryan, I've been looking into the crypto happenings the last days,
Mhm.
because Bitcoin has been stable. It's the last 40 hours, it started moving again. But before that, it was like 2 or 3 days, almost flatlined. And I'm used that there's always this, there's
Yeah.
always buying, selling, but they kept it stable. Like,
Is that
it-
Easter weekend? Is that
yeah, and it's like, I told Ryan as well, the Wall Street guys who used to work with stock, the professionals, it's like they are getting their hand on it, and it's gonna be the reserve coin.
you think so?
It could be in this way that the Bitcoin is the reserve coin, the gold coin.
Huh.
Ripple XRP is I had it written down because it was getting so complicated.
Yeah.
I had to write it out. Because Ripple will be the exchange coin,
Right. Right.
and Stellar, the coin, the currency, the retail coin. You can buy a cup of coffee with the Stellar
Yeah.
lumens.
I hope so because I bought
Yeah.
that. You know.
And the Ripple is really the exchange coin, because when you like in when you buy big, like when different countries gonna work together, there's this, and you go from one coin to another, then it's probably gonna be Ripple.
Hmm.
And there's Ethereum for the contracts, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's JP Morgan, Ripple. Then you get back to the who was that guy? McCabe,
Oh, I don't
Jade
know.
McCabe. Well, that's I'm working on it. It's weird because
Confusing.
I'm in the Genesis block. Oh my God, Genesis. Yeah, I also had a dive. It's Q703 that got me to the Genesis 1.1. You know Q703?
I don't know them by heart. No.
No, that's the one with the light beam, JFK. Patriots install the light beam,
Oh, all right.
that one. And I got there through the numbers of Back to the Future, the 911, the 104, 88, etc. And 12, 21. And 12 is the 37 is the 12th prime, and 73 is the 21st prime. So 37 and 73 are big in that whole Back to the Future thing, and it's connecting to the Genesis block as well. And then you got Satoshi Nakamoto.
You think
he's
he's a real person? I always wonder about that.
Yeah, it's I know his name means being awoken by being at the source.
Oh. Well,
So
at least it's a person, at least it's someone who chose a name that was important.
Yeah.
At least, right?
And the thing is, you know, that the first block was found after 6 days. He mined for 6 days, and on the
But then the
seventh day, that's so special
Oh,
about
so
it.
it was probably President Trump, really. What do you think? I don't know. Maybe.
Could be, but I think there are many players, many big players, all on
Right.
good
It doesn't
sides.
necessarily have to be him. I'm just going off by, you know.
No, but it is an interesting
Yeah.
thing.
Huh.
And the thing is, when you read the Lost Book of Enki,
You have the book?
you familiar with that one?
No, I'm not. No.
No, because there was
I've mostly listened to or paid more attention to Enoch lately.
Well, don't, because
Okay.
that was written by Sitchin, and he went to economic school together. He was in the class with Soros.
No.
Yeah, and that was funded by
I didn't
the
know that.
Rothschilds.
Okay, well,
And
how do I
get
get the Enki that's real? How do I get what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Is not manipulated, what you're talking about?
Yeah, because so many they putting something through our throat. It's not.
I understand. I do.
They've been doing a lot of lying, and it is an interesting part of history because it's huge. And I also found out that the real Ebzu, I haven't told you yet, Ryan, because that's been on my.
How do you spell that? I'm sorry.
EBZU.
Oh wow.
Ebzu. And that's probably on the Mount Hermon, and not how do you say the other place in not in Iraq. But I have so much laying around now, still not finished. I took a dive, and so I still, and they probably not even called Anunnaki, but Anunnaki, when you do a proper translation. And you know, want to know what's funny? The gematria on that? 5-7.
Tell me how you spell that, please.
Anunnaki.
With an AH, that's the same thing?
I'm gonna write it down. Oh,
that's okay. Go take your time.
Because the A in Dutch is different than
I know, that must be so hard. I can't imagine.
It's okay, but when I start spelling, it's like, okay, it's not right.
It's better to write it down. Yeah.
And then
Ryan, do you speak another language?
No.
No, I didn't think.
After birds.
So I'm always so impressed with her. I think your screen froze, Ryan. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm having some issues on my end.
Okay. I hope I didn't do anything.
No.
Okay. Well, it's a nice picture anyway, Ryan. You look
it's a nice freeze frame.
Yeah.
freeze frame.
Oh, there's a song called Freeze Frame.
Yeah, the song's going
And
off.
it's one of the only songs that came out of Maine, which my heart is in Maine.
Yeah.
And I'm on the border, right? I could walk across to Maine from New Hampshire. Yeah, and they did this song. I'm just talking off the top of my head. Anyway, they did this song. They did Freeze Frame, and they also talk about it. They did what was that called about the bowling ball? What's that called, Bob? Are you there? Anyway, in the song, it goes. They're playing. They're bowling. I'm just being very lighthearted right now, and it's kind of an odd. It's a really odd song. You should look it up. Jay Giles Band.
I know it. I know the song.
Okay, and then he goes.
Yeah.
They're playing. They're bowling.
Yeah.
Okay, they're bowling, and then he looks down at the ball being brought up, and he goes, "That's not a bowling ball. That's my wife." He goes.
I remember.
Head coming out to play. I was like, and I didn't think anything of it when I was a teenager, and then I got a little older, and I said, "Oh, that's disgusting. That's his wife's head coming up to bowl with." Anyway, that's from Maine, one of the only songs out of the state. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay, because that's exactly that song is always popping in my head with the word freeze frame. Yeah.
Oh, that's not Freeze Frame. It's a different song. But Freeze Frame is a good song that they did. Oh, it's a great song. It's a rowdy song.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's I'm looking at Ryan. Freeze frame still.
I
Are you still
know.
with us, Ryan?
Well, we can still
Am I still
talk.
freeze framed?
Yeah, but I can hear your words, but
Yeah, we can hear
we're
you.
still
Right.
in the same.
Yeah, but we can hear you. It's okay.
Yeah.
Even if we can't see you, we can hear you. So it's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us what you were talking about. Was it freeze? You said freeze frame. Were you going to talk more about freeze frame? I don't know. Honey. Judith.
No, I was talking about the Ebzu before, and the upset. Then you get also to the baptizing as well, and the waters. So many waters to watch and to
Yeah.
who are in the picture now. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. It's even like the narrative I spoke about on the chat. You know, I was at work, and I don't smoke anymore. I vape a little bit, little stupid
We're
thing.
proud of you, dear.
Gonna throw that this summer too. And I was standing out back, and I was having a quick puff of the vape, and I'm looking out across the highway from where I work, and we're on a high rise. So I'm looking out, and there's a reservoir right across the street, and I always end up looking over at those waters and everything anytime I step out back. And I'm looking out there, and it just kind of popped, like a whole narrative popped. And it's like the waters and the direction they flow, okay, are all controlled by the same thing that controls the people. So if you're a drop of water, and Judith is a drop of water, and I'm a drop of water, and collectively we're all drops of water, and we fill up a ravine, okay? The same thing controls our flow. Now, your ripple in that drop of water wants to expand, okay? In creativity and abundance and things like that. The second you touch the banks, you counter ripple, and you become competitive to the other ripples.
Yeah.
The banks control the waters.
Huh.
So at
Banks.
what point do the waters need to overflow and overrun the banks?
Oh, that sounds like the real banks, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you talk about all of these things that have been done to the people by the bankers and the heads of the banks and stuff, the Rothschilds and all these people and everything, and what they do to kids and stuff. And it's a very similar narrative in its own way, shape, or form that nature itself tells you.
Yeah.
Nature itself tells you these things if what's the phrase? If you have eyes to see.
Yeah.
And it's kind of something I took notice to, like, that's a very interesting thing. The banks control the waters.
Right. Sorry about
And now
the
you go into a biblical narrative of Solomon, solo monkeys. I heard that in the last conversation. Solomon, if you ever watch the way a salmon will go against the grain of a water to plant its foundation upstream.
Yeah.
I think at this stage of the game, the people need to go against the grain
Yeah.
and plant the new foundation. This one's I'm not sure about how I feel about this one. This current narrative we live in and this current system.
Well, I think we're all doing that, all three of us, and I think a whole lot more going against
The idea
grain.
is to get people to look a lot closer at their everyday lives. If you spend time and you recollect things throughout your life and your childhood and things that happened and put them with today's studies, how many coincidences before you start seeing things?
Oh yeah, I think all three of us and more people that are watching have been prepared their whole lives and they don't even know it. By what they've done and what they've experienced and where they've been placed.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were on Twitter, there was an account called Photon Storm?
No.
Her handle was
You're really smart, Ryan. I probably didn't.
Well,
Oh, that
she was one of the few, he, I don't know, you never know who you're talking to, but she would always call somebody beloved and speak very appropriately and stuff like that. But you can ask Judith. There was one time I put a GIF up there with a banana peel stripping its peel off strip dance.
Hilarious.
Okay? Just trying to get her to laugh, and she literally called me a terrorist.
No.
Really?
And oh yeah, me and Judith kind of pulled aside. I said, when you don't have a sense of humor, you're disconnect. There's something very wrong there.
Oh no.
Something very wrong. But she would talk about RICO tax audits. She would talk about all these things, and just out of shits and giggles, I went on a certain celebrity's Twitter page. And I started seeing that her songs that she was writing had numerical sequence to them and everything else. Okay. And while I was on her page, Photon's on her page, immediately reaching out to me. And one thing she said to me is, she said, she has something special for you. Okay. And I remember this, and I didn't save it. Okay.
You mean Photon had or the artist?
No, this particular celebrity, okay, had something special for you. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, sure. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a simple dude. I'm just a blue collar worker. Just, give me blocks. I'll pick things up. I'll put them down. Done.
Oh, honey, you are so much smarter than you give yourself.
Well, I mean, that's my lifestyle, though. That's my lifestyle. I wasn't.
Is like. Anyway.
I wasn't raised in any of this stuff. This is all new, and all of this started for me when I started, when I was brought to the understanding that things were happening to kids. I'm a parent. My daughter means everything to me. My son means everything to me. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am now. My daughter she's my greatest superhero. She instilled a very, very deep understanding of love and how it's to be protected, not flaunted, because of her special needs. My mother and father spent their whole life, still do, caring for people with mental challenges and things like that. People who can't care for themselves, when otherwise people that make it in life and people who have, it's corporeal abundance, but they have money and they have a chance to do things for people. And are they? A lot of them, they just put their money into charity and then recollect that stuff come tax time. That's not from the heart. That's shit. That's shit. That's false advertisement of caring.
Yeah.
Like everything I gave for charity when we were collecting and stuff for the pandemic, I never claimed that back on taxes. I don't care about that. Yeah. That was from the heart. Now, was the money from the heart from the government? No, nothing they do is from the heart. It's shit. It's, but so I started looking at this particular person, and I see her name is very similar to my own. And if you look into Freemasonry and you look into the Grand Architect of the Universe, and you type in Grand Architect of the Universe Wiki, okay? And you go in there, it takes you into Gnostic, Freemason, early Christianity, and they will talk about how it tells the story of Adam, okay, and how Adam cried out for a companion, and he was given a companion, and that companion's name was Ultra Makema, MK, okay.
Really?
That
You
same
you said grand, not great, right?
Grand Architect of the Universe, okay.
Okay.
And it shows like a depiction of what would be Jesus in a black and blue, or I'm sorry, a blue and red robe with the Masonic compass over the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so that name Ultra Makema, I mean, I immediately looked at that and said, well, right there is MK Ultra. Right there is MK Ultra, and it's in its own special form and shape and everything. And they also called this, which Trump mentioned, Super V. Okay. Now V is Roman numeral for 5. 5 is E in the alphabet. Okay. Another name for super is grand. Grandee. What celebrity am I speaking about? Because she wrote a song, God is a Woman.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not into pop culture.
Ariana Grande.
Oh, okay. I have no idea.
So a lot of her songs I'm looking at, and it's interesting. It's interesting when I watch that. Like, who was this account that called me a terrorist? Who was this account that told me that this woman had something special for me? You know, gorgeous girl, beautiful voice and stuff. But it's like the things she's involved in with Hollywood and everything. Now, I know that there was some sort of bombing at a Manchester concert and everything.
Yeah.
Is she involved in these things? There's a lot of things that surround this girl and who she's associated with that I don't know.
You know, I wonder if that was real. That thing that
Well,
happened. There's,
the question,
I haven't decoded that, but there's a chance if you worked on it, you could find out possibly that wasn't real. But I don't know.
well, I don't really know. I don't really know. This is a whole Hollywood thing, and the thing is when you pull her name apart, okay, it's Ari Anna, okay, Anna. You could put the I in front of it, and it's almost like R Inanna, okay. Now Inanna is Ishtar. Inanna is Ishtar.
Right.
Inanna is Isis. Inanna is Lilith. Okay.
I was just working on that. That's funny.
This whole concept comes down to the masculine and the feminine. Now, are these two supposed to be together? Is the question. Is this two different factions where, Jesus Mary, where these two are supposed to come together, and this is supposed to create peace and birth a new child?
Well,
or is this something that goes through? Because when you go into Egyptian lore, Isis was the mother and or wife of Osiris, and there was a betrayal on Ra, the sun god.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of things involving Ariana where she presents the moon a lot. The relationship between the moon and the sun. Well, we know that the moon reflects the sun's light.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not too
go ahead.
convinced about that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all basic science I'm sharing. How they teach us in school.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's it's just I see things and it's like, what the hell am I looking at?
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know what you think, honey, but honey, I'm calling you honey. Anyway,
Great.
Okay.
I think
Bees make wonderful
we're
things.
all on a big moon and we're all craters. So when we talk about planets, the planets are, it's reflected in the dome. So if you look at this massive object, which you could call a moon, I'd love to see Ryan's
Yeah.
face right now. I can't see it.
Yeah.
But you'd be like, oh, I don't know. Anyway, so if you're on a huge planet of whatever a planet would be, and then on the surface, like when you see the moon, right? We're looking out at the moon and you see all the, you could call them pock marks, right? All the craters.
Yeah.
It's reflected in the dome. And what we're really seeing is this massive object with us as one of the craters. That's the way I look at it. And it's all a reflection. And when you see Polaris, you and I talked about that before. And Polaris doesn't move if you look at the, if you put a camera on Polaris and kept it up there and you had the camera going, you would see everything moving around Polaris because we're Polaris. We're the crater that's reflecting up in there. And that's why everything moves around.
Yeah, true north.
Ocean.
Yes.
That's just a thought,
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
Did you guys see the post where somebody said the Earth was reflected on the moon? Like you could see the dark spots in the moon, and it looks like the outline of the continents is kind of shined up on the moon.
I didn't see that.
Somebody posted that. I didn't. I should have saved it. I should have honestly saved that because that was. I always used to look at the moon, and when you have a clear night, and you really stare at it. You got the dark outlines on the moon from what you can see, and it always looked like continents to me.
Yeah, but
Even when
Ryan, I made a post about that.
Was it you?
It was you.
Yeah.
It had to have been. It had to have been because not a lot of people dig into like stuff that deep.
And the thing is, it's not even where what you see on the moon is, you can see that where the Earth is, we only see a quarter of it.
Yeah.
So the picture is much bigger. And it's like the moon, what we see is like a reflection, as if frozen in time, a picture that was taken a long time ago.
A reflection from the dome.
Yeah. And it's like an X-ray. There are two, you can look at it two ways. You can see the continents. There's a guy who figured it all out, and he really put a lot of work in it. And you can also see the dome in it. There are two pictures where you can see it really well.
You're talking about
and then you have the
guy, honey?
the Arctic Circle. And I was mentioning that the pole is the North Pole, or the magnetic North Pole is moving. It's going fast now. It's went from Alaska to Siberia. And in that model, you can see it's we're moving with it. We're really living inside a big clock. And the North Pole is in the middle of our part, which is in the light now, but there is a huge part that's not in the light, and that's what Enoch saw. He mentioned it. That's the void he was sort of speaking of. But underneath the Earth, because you have all these 3D models from the old flat Earth models, is the shallow. Under that is where the ether comes from. We're in a big aquarium. But the north, the true north.
A post about ether.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you're going from?
Yeah. I posted a lot about that. I'm
Okay.
I can send you some later,
Yeah.
a few posts.
Who is that person who sings that song? The lyrics where we're just two lost souls swimming in a fish bowl year after year. Was that Tom Petty?
Well, could be.
Wait, Bob, are you there, Bob? Can you come get the cat? Sorry.
It could be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Oh, the
Yeah.
Heartbreakers.
And
I got this.
and then regarding Enoch, the name itself. If you take the name Enki,
Yeah.
Enoch, you
Yeah.
switch the K and the I. Is
Yeah.
Enoch Enki?
Yeah, could be. Wouldn't be
Pretty
surprised.
close. Yeah, pretty close. You talk about the
And-
rotations of letters and things like that, and it's, you know.
And
A lot
didn't
of
he?
people say that it's going to be Enoch and Elijah coming back as the two witnesses, but I don't think that's who it's going to be.
Well,
think it's gonna be-
they could be, you know, these are entities of various names. Could
Right.
be
Yeah.
various
They
names.
could have
Same.
been, in the past, they could have been Enoch and Elijah, and then they became other, right? Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, but just like Michael is a title. It's not a person. So you
Okay.
can have
The title.
yeah,
Okay.
you can have more Michaels.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ninurta is
It's the same with Allah. It's
yeah,
the same with Allah. Allah is a title. It's not a name. It means one and only God.
yeah.
Okay.
So there are more Michaels. I connect Gabriel also to the Enoch, but
Who
that's
was that?
not.
Did you say, who did you say?
Oh,
Did you say,
Gabriel.
Gabriel?
I said it in
Gabriel.
Dutch. Gabriel. We have the G.
I speak Dutch fluently.
Yeah. Nee, the G. We got hard sounds. The G is the G. So sometimes I pronounce it
That's all
differently.
right.
But Gabriel and in Enki are also connected hugely.
Well,
So
Gabe, you know how I have the thing about Cary Grant. I mean, I go back to simple stuff, you know me. And the movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Do you know that movie?
mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he talks about, he calls the angel that he sees, he calls him Gabriel. I really think Cary Grant is here. I really do. I know you probably think I'm nuts, but
No.
because of all this decoding, I mean, it's not just
Yeah.
like wishful thinking. It's
No,
it's a ton of decoding too.
it comes on your path, not for, and it's for a big reason.
Yeah,
So you got to be on something, Kat.
yeah,
For
maybe
sure.
DMT.
Yeah, you don't need that.
No, you
No.
really no.
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah.
No, listen. I had a few experiences. I mean, I could talk about them, but the one that was the most interesting is when I decided to do 100 milligrams.
Oh, right.
That
Did you
was.
have someone helping you? The person
sorry?
know what they were, did the person know what they were doing that was helping you?
He advised me against it, and I said, you know,
Oh,
just
Ryan.
shut up.
Ryan.
Yeah.
My
It
kids
was-
would
it
hear
was
that kind of
the-
voice. Like, my kids would hear that
It-
kind of voice from me when I was really annoyed
Oh
with
yeah.
Ryan.
He even said to me, he goes, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, because it was a really nice night. We were out in the middle of the country. It was 12 o'clock midnight when I did this.
Oh, Ryan.
We'll put it this way: the hair on his arms was standing up, and he wasn't even the one doing it.
Oh, Ryan.
Yeah.
That's
No,
all I
but
can say.
you can you pick it up. It's what I had with other people who were on a trip. I was standing next to them, and I could feel and see the same things they saw and felt. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is good enough for me. I'm very
That
sensitive.
particular one was my last time, and that was, oh God, that was years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago. I don't do anything. I really I have cut down so much. I'm drinking water more than anything. I love
Oh,
my
here I am
coffee
with a
though.
glass of
I
wine.
love my coffee. Coffee and water, and
Yep.
yeah, the vape is going this summer because there's really no need for it. I take 2 pulls and that constitutes a cigarette. So it's like the carcinogens I was inhaling for 29 years when I was doing it is
Well, you're
it's
doing
far none.
great,
I sleep so
Ryan.
much. My sleep is so much better.
Well,
It's
we're really proud of you, Ryan. I mean, that's hard to stop smoking. My dad didn't stop till he was like 72. He tried over and over. It's
I
not
don't know
easy.
why. I don't know why I even smoked though. That's the craziest thing because a lot of all of this, I would turn around and recollect things in my life when I was a kid and my dad smoked. Okay, I hated him smoking cigarettes, and I used to grab his Marlboro Reds and crush them when he wasn't looking. He'd get so pissed off.
I
But
did stuff like that. I know what you
and
mean.
then right around 8, 9 years old, my mother would go to, there was a food store at the time called Acme, and we would go food shopping at Acme, and right next door was Thrift Drug, and that's where she had her prescriptions. And they had this little toy aisle, and my brothers would run into the toy aisle, and they'd want to see if there was anything cool that they could try to coax mom get a new toy. And she'd turn around, "Where's Ryan?" "Ryan's in the tobacco aisle smelling cherry tobacco."
Oh, cherry tobacco smelled good. My
It
grand,
did,
it did.
but I wanted to start chewing tobacco. I was fixated on Red Man chewing tobacco. I wanted I wanted Red Man chewing tobacco, and I thought I was a little badass come 5th grade, and I got a hold of those little bandit skull pouches you put in
Oh,
your lip and everything,
what are we gonna
and
do
I
here?
I I puked all over my 5th grade teacher. That's how cool Ryan was growing up.
Poor Ryan.
But even still, even hating smoking, like I never understood the draw and the draw towards tobacco in my life. Maybe it's the Cherokee in me. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
Maybe that was,
who knows?
that's what it was.
Yeah.
History,
I don't know.
history.
And
But
I have a similar,
I'm just glad I'm not smoking anymore.
and I got a similar story because I really hated it that my father smoked, and and the thing is, we were in the car on our way to France,
Oh,
and
and your
then me
camping trip?
smoking.
Was it your camping trip?
Yeah, our camping trip. And then usually we left at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then the first stop was hours later, and so he smoked in the car as well, not only on the stops. I didn't forget that, but the thing is, I started smoking, and that was. I felt really stupid because
Was it
I
back
hated
then?
it.
Was it at that time?
No, I smoked. It took, I guess I was 16 or 15.
Well,
And
that's so young.
yeah, young enough, precies.
Yeah.
Okay.
We love
Um,
you guys. It doesn't matter.
no.
Oh, both of you.
You know what's funny is when you stop smoking cigarettes and you give yourself about 2 weeks and you realize what you smelled like
Yeah.
for the duration. Oh my.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Like burning, like
Yeah.
you smell like a burning cardboard box for years on end, and
Exactly.
you don't
Yeah.
smell it because you smoke, but
Yeah.
imagine what you smell like to people who don't, like this stinky
Yeah.
son of a bitch over here.
And when my dad finally stopped smoking at an older age, he couldn't believe that cigarettes could smell that bad because, he was done and then he would smell other people
Yeah.
smoking. And he said, they've done something to the cigarettes.
Yeah, it's different.
That's right then.
Yeah.
Something was done
That
to them
happened.
because it was
That
horrible.
happened. Yeah, that happened when Obama took office. That's when he put that fire
He put
safety
that
stuff
stuff
in there.
in, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's funny. I
Absolutely.
never did smoke, but I drank wine and beer and stuff. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think that's any much better. But yeah, I used to be so upset. My parents and my grandmother smoked in the house that my brother and I grew up in. And I couldn't stand it. And before I left the house to go to school, I'd stick my head in the sink and I'd wash my hair.
Okay, I get it.
My
Yeah,
hair didn't smell like,
yeah,
you know, and then I would go to school and the rest of my body smelled like it, but at least my
Yeah.
hair didn't.
yeah. And it was
Amazing.
normal to smoke inside. It's so weird.
Everybody did.
And on
Everybody.
parties, there were glasses on the table with cigarettes and cigars in them. That was
Oh,
normal.
and big,
Snacks and cigarettes.
yeah, and great big ashtrays, you know, huge.
Yeah.
That would have
Yeah, weird.
2,000
Precies.
cigarette butts.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't smoke inside, by the way,
Yeah.
because I don't like the smell of it either.
You're so goofy.
Amazing. I
Oh,
smoke, but I
What are
don't
we
like the
gonna do
smell.
with you?
Yeah, I'm always outside.
Yeah. Even when I was smoking, I'd smoke by the kitchen window, and that's where I always had my computer when me and Judith were doing everything.
Yeah.
No.
And the smoke, like the way the wind came through my house, it would vacuum right out the window. So
Oh,
Yeah.
it worked out, but it, you know,
but she didn't
the ashtray would
know.
fill up pretty quick.
You guys
Yep.
are so funny. The two of you. I wish I'd been a fly on the wall when you guys were talking to each other. Like I'd have to be
Oh,
two flies, one there and one there. But
Yeah.
if I wish I was two
with
flies.
me, with me especially, it's probably been an emotional roller coaster with me, because it's like I'm so quick to take offense to things I don't understand.
Oh.
Like, why are they doing this? And it's,
Oh,
you know, she's right there, you know, calm down. I even told her the other day, like, you know, we got a guy at work and he's part of a Mason Lodge. I was like, what the hell's happening? Why is there a guy from the Mason Lodge here? And she's like, why don't you try talking to him? I mean, we get along great.
Yeah.
We get along great. He's funny to work with. He's a
Yeah.
good guy.
he doesn't
He,
know. That guy doesn't know what's going on.
Exactly. Only on a
No.
need-to-know basis. I told. Let me tell you something funny, because I told you about my grandmother,
Mhm.
and she was not not a Roman Catholic, and so that story.
Yeah.
My father's side, they were. I told you that before on
Yeah.
that other movie that didn't record. And he had 9 sisters and 2 brothers. His father was a teacher on the Jesuit school
Yeah.
in Nijmegen. So that's my grandfather. He was a teacher in drawing, and but his father, is my great grandmother, was an architect. So he was a stonemason. So apparently, I got a mason in the family. I never realized it until like 2 years ago. I looked it up and I was okay. I can find a link on him on Wiki even if I want to. And the fun thing is, all my family is from the eastern part of the Netherlands, Nijmegen. It's nearly Germany. I live as the only one. I live in Rotterdam.
Oh, don't you freeze too. What's going on? Bob, everybody's frozen. You're frozen. Ah! Maybe you guys should try signing in again. I don't know what happened. Oh my gosh. I can't be the only one moving. Is anybody there? Can you guys talk? Oh my gosh. Well, maybe we'll end this and